Well, good morning, everybody. Again, it is my pleasure to be here. Everybody hear me okay? Yes, okay, awesome. Whoa, I've had so much fun working with all of you. It's just been a pleasure to make music with people and to make music in such kind of an out-of-the-box, cutting-edge kind of way in these times. And so I want to say a special welcome to all of our faculty guests today. Wow, I really appreciate you being here today. And should you have any wisdom that you want to share during the course of this rehearsal today, we would all love to hear that. So really the format for today, we've been kind of rehearsing a lot of specific things, and I think going into tomorrow, I think it's really important that we kind of be running through things and practicing what it's like to give a concert. And so we'll kind of treat this like a dress rehearsal. So we will go through this rehearsal today in concert order, and I will give that to you in just a second. Hopefully I have the right order, but I think it's the order that we have all those rehearsal tracks on our PDF. And just kind of talk about a few things in order for us to have success tomorrow. One thing about a concert that sometimes people think is like, oh, well, once we get to the concert, you know, I'll bring my energy, or once I get to the concert, then, you know, I'll make myself look professional, or any of those things. And so today really is our chance to practice all of the things that we really want to have go right in our concert tomorrow. So before we start each piece, what I might do is call on different people and just have them give a reminder of some of the really important things that we have talked about in each piece, just so we can kind of call attention to that, have it at the front of our mind, and try to incorporate that into the piece. And then we'll kind of debrief after we've run through the piece as well. For the students here, have you recorded during a concert in the way that we're planning to do tomorrow? Is that something that you've done before? Will you give me a thumbs up if that's familiar? I'm just wondering how much. Okay, I've never done it before. I don't know about the faculty members here today, but maybe we'll talk about that a little bit too, because we definitely want to be successful in that way as well. So the order that I am planning to go today, and Dr. Chung, please do correct me if I don't say something in the correct order, because I want to make sure we rehearse in concert order, and then everybody has the concert order correct for tomorrow. For all of you, please put your music in concert order. Hey, awesome. Okay. Just like we've done every day, I want to do a little warm up just to kind of get us all unified on the same page. So one thing that I noticed yesterday in one of our pieces, there's a little bit of I'm going to call it a fun bowing. It could be tricky, but I actually think it feels really fun to do this particular bowing. And so I'm ripping this warm up right out of our classic sleigh ride. We have a bowing, and the rhythm is 8th, 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 2/16 notes. So bum, 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 bum is what we're going to do. But for my string players, if you're not a string player, don't worry about this bowing. But the string bowing, we're going to practice this in our warm up, is down, up, up, down, up, down, up, up, down, up. So there's a double up in there, and it's really easy to miss that. So what I would like to do, because our first piece is in the key of G, we're going to do a G major scale. We'll go up and down, no need to repeat the top note. Let me demo that for you. We're going to do, again, a concert G scale. So if you have a transposition, please just note that. You can play this in whatever octave you are comfortable in. So the scale will look a little bit like this. Really, the important thing is, for my string players, is that double up. And I have my camera set so that it shows me well when I conduct, but unfortunately when I play the cello, it doesn't really show the area that I would like. So again, that bowing is down, up, down, up. Okay, and just like we did yesterday, I really had a lot of fun bringing the holiday spirit. Where is Alex? I'm wondering if Alex can get out his sleigh bells and wouldn't mind leading a little bit this morning. Alex, are you here? Yes, will you unmute and say hello? Hi there, Alex. Okay, can I see the holiday spirit? Can you pick them up? Okay, so we are going to do this warm up along with sleigh bells because we want to warm up our fingers, our ears, but I think we also need a little bit of warm up of holiday spirit this morning in order to kind of get that energy going. So Alex, if you would give us 1, 2, 1, 2, and then sleigh bells on the beats, we're all going to play our scale along with Alex leading and giving us some sleigh bell backup. I will be playing along too, and I will mute myself so this doesn't sound crazy. Alex, does that make sense? Give me a thumbs up. Okay, all right. Alex, take it away and lead us.
1, 2, 1, 2.
All right, Alex, thank you. That was a nice peppy tempo. So if we weren't awake before, I think we are good to go now. Okay. One more thing that we're going to do before we kind of start getting everything going. I'm going to bring a little tradition that I like to do here in Northern Kentucky with my orchestra at NKU is before every concert, we do this thing. So I would like you to indulge me in this. Put your instrument in a safe position if you would. I don't want anybody to knock anything over. What we do is we do this thing called power posing. I don't know if you've ever power posed before. If you haven't, you might feel a little bit weird, but it's science and it really gets us in the right frame of mind to perform. So I'm going to give you a couple choices of a pose that you can do. This one is called starfish up. So you go like this and we hold it. Again, make sure we don't want to drop any instruments, or you can do kind of Superman, Wonder Woman. This also works. Okay, so are you ready with me? We're going to power pose for a few seconds and get ourselves feeling nice and confident and joyful. So big smiles. Let's go. Power pose. Yes. Everybody power pose. Everybody's power posing. Yes. All right. Awesome. Hold it just a little bit longer. Can you stretch even more? Stretch even more. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, great. Love it. Does that feel good? I hope so. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. It's earlier where you guys are, so it might take a little longer for you to get going, but I'm already good to go. All right, let's please jump into For Unto Us. Okay, so let's remember the time period for this piece of music. So we're going to go really fast. Stay with me. Lots of energy. I'm just going to ask a couple people to remind some important things. So let's see here. Oh, Aiden, will you remind us what time period is this piece from so we can get our minds in the right place?
This piece is in the Baroque.
Baroque, yes. So with it being a Baroque piece, let's talk about style. Could I have a couple people remind me of what kind of style we're going to play in this piece? How about Jeffrey? Jeffrey on the cello. Remind us, please.
I believe that Baroque style has like very light bow.
Right, light bow. So if you have a bow, it's going to be a little bit more bow, a little bit more speed, a little bit more air in it. Yes. And how about the articulation? More legato, more, is there some space in there? Tell me about that, Jeffrey.
I think space, but you told us like for quarter notes to kind of like kick it. That's all I remember.
Kick it. Yeah, there's a little bit of a martelé bow stroke. Yes,
right, martelé.
Yeah, yes, but I like that. I'm going to use that. Let's make sure to kick it in this piece, like I said, and Jeffrey reminded us, I guess. So if you have just kind of walking quarter notes, there's a little bit more of an emphasis at the beginning of the note, and then it kind of tapers away. So if you have things like quarter notes, eighth notes, make sure there's some space. If you have 16th notes, more long and legato, and make sure we're really phrasing with the music. So if you were to kind of connect the dots and trace the music, that's what you're going to do. You're going to crescendo when it goes up, you're going to diminuendo when it comes down. If you're a string player, especially as you crescendo in this type of music, please use more bow. We should visually be able to see you crescendo. Okay, are there a lot of tempo changes in this movement that we need to watch out for? Any like, uh-oh, let's remember this part. Are there any? Not really, it's pretty straightforward, okay? So any questions before we go through a run through of For Unto Us? Questions? Any questions? Liam, did you have a question or did your hand just kind of, nope, you don't have a question. Okay, all right, Dr. Chung, I think we're ready to go.
Now, start playing or counting your multi-measure rest after 8 beats.
Okay, how did that go for everybody? Give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs. Give me a thumb on the thumb scale. Okay, great. Here is something to remember. During the concert tomorrow, how many people are gonna have maybe like a friend or a family member maybe watching the concert? Raise your hand if somebody might be watching you in the concert. Okay, here's the thing. They're not going to be able to hear your sound during the concert, but they are going to be able to see you visually. And I don't want any of your friends and family to wonder if your screen has gone on frozen, okay? Sometimes I'll look over and I don't see any movement. It's actually really important to make sure, move with your body, move to the music. I don't want you to move for the heck of it, but there's no need to be a statue. Have some fun. People are going to be watching you, and they're going to want to see you enjoying the music and showing that with your body. One of the ways that you can show that from the very beginning that will actually really help you musically is you need to breathe at the beginning of the piece. I know some of you are breathing because you have to, because your instrument requires breath. But even if you play a string instrument, you require breath too. And so when you hear the count off, you hear 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, breathe on that note. So I'm going to talk and breathe. So breathe on that last click so that you can come in with yourself and the click really well, okay? So I want you to breathe, and I don't want you to just breathe like this. You can't see me breathe, but if I do this with my whole body, you can see the breath. And so I want you to really breathe and show the breath at the beginning of each piece of music, okay? That's gonna make you really look like a professional. Your friends and family are gonna watch and say, wow, I didn't realize that so-and-so really upped their game as a musician and now is almost like conducting themselves. So let's go for that. Does that make sense? Can you give me a thumbs up? If it does, okay, great. Any questions about For Unto Us before we move on? Okay. All right, it's time to do the Little Drummer Boy. It's time to do the Little Drummer Boy. Okay. A few things that we need to remember in this piece. Okay, so this is in cut time. We get 8 clicks still. So the click is giving us the quarter note, okay? So it's subdividing those measures, all right? So keep that in mind. String players, can somebody tell me a nice tip at the beginning to do the col legno in order to get from col legno to arco? Who can give me that tip? Julian, do you remember what we talked about?
I can't remember.
Okay, does anybody remember? Help us out and help Julian out. Ethan. Ethan's got his hand raised. Hey, thanks for volunteering, Ethan. Appreciate it.
Are you supposed to tilt your bow in a certain way so it's easier for you to switch?
Yeah, so what I recommended, because we're not col legnoing all day long, is use your bow grip and just tilt your bow, and then it's really easy to just tilt back and play the arco, rather than kind of grabbing your bow like this use your bow grip, tilt it, and you can kind of even do an up bow and down bow while hitting the string. Okay? Yes. Okay, Liam's got it. I see him doing a nice demo in here. Okay. Other things that we need to talk about. People that have the melody, make sure that that's really beautiful and lyrical. And cellos, bass players, make sure that we don't check out with this bum, bump, bump, bum, bump, bump. It's really easy to go on autopilot and not really internalize that beat and listen. But it's actually really important. That's the kind of the drummer part, and we need to make sure that we are doing that. And that's always down, up, up, down, up, up. So remember that bowing. There is a big crescendo that happens someplace that we specifically talked about yesterday. Who could remind us all where we need to make sure to crescendo real big? Somebody raise your hand, please. Raise your hand. Hannah's raising her hand. Thank you, Hannah. Remind us. It sure is 2 measures before D. So I have crescendo in my printed music. It's written in with letters, but I went in and I scribbled in one of these kind of crescendos. So please make sure you put that in. You don't want to be the one person that submits a video who forgot to do the crescendo. Yeah, Daniel, what's going on?
In second violin, there is no D, I think.
There's no letter D?
Yeah.
Okay, let's figure out where that is. So do you have a letter C, Daniel?
Yeah.
Okay, count with me at letter C. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's the 9th measure of C is letter D. Could you write that in for me?
Okay.
Okay. Okay, you've got that. And then 2 before, we have that big crescendo. Oh, I've got a question. Trumpet from Mr. Patel. Was that about this piece or the previous one? This one? Okay, let's see. Let me check this question. 7 bars before the end. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's see. Oh, I lost the question in the chat. Okay, that is not going to work, that note. That should be a concert B in the trumpet rather than a written B. Does that make sense? So yeah, you should, if we're doing, it should be a C sharp, I think, in your part. Got it? Okay, yes, nice catch. That would sound not so good. All right. Okay, anybody have any questions about the drummer boy? Anybody? Okay, I think we are ready to do a run of drummer boy. Again, please, this time, breathe at the beginning and kind of look in your little Zoom window and make sure that people that were watching you, they can see your body and they can see you kind of really enjoying the music, okay? All right, let's go ahead and cue that up if you would, Dr. Chung, I'd appreciate it.
Here you go. Now, start playing or counting your multi-measure rest after 8 beats.
Okay, how did that go for everybody? Yeah, okay, me too. Just a reminder, one thing that I forgot to remind people about is that at box C, if you are a high school first violinist or professional first violinist as well, we're doing that up an octave, that section, okay? You can take it up an octave. If you're not a high school or professional first violinist, please keep it as written, okay? Do we have any questions about Little Drummer Boy? No? I think that one's pretty straightforward. Let's go on to our classic sleigh ride, please. Okay, looks like we have Harp here today. Chloe is here. Hi, Chloe, how are you? Okay, great. Chloe, are you feeling okay about this part on the Glock part you're playing?
Everything works.
Everything works. Okay, lovely. All right, let's remind ourselves about some stylistic things. Because we played a piece in the Baroque period, but now we have a piece that has a different style. So could somebody remind me the style and articulation that we're going to use on the eighth notes? Can somebody remind all of us? Natalia, I see you so close to the camera and I feel like you're just wanting to remind us.
Oh, I was asking Dr. Chung a question, but
Okay. Busted. Okay. Could you remind us of the style for the eighth notes though, if you wouldn't mind?
I don't remember.
I'll give you a choice. Do you think they would be light or heavy?
Would it be heavy? Or?
Well, how about the other choice? I think light would be a little bit better because what kind of style is this piece? Like time period wise. It's not Baroque really. It's a little bit more of starts with a C. It's more of, can somebody help Natalia out with the style and maybe what more time period this would kind of apply to? Raise your hand. Kielor, thank you.
Classical style.
Yes, a little bit more classical style. So yes, we want to be a little bit more of a classical style. Later on those eighth notes, if you play a string instrument, we are going to do what kind of style on the eighth notes? What's our bow technique? Somebody remind me. Ooh, Suzy wants to remind everybody of the bow technique. Suzy, I gotta know what you're gonna say.
I was gonna guess spiccato.
You know what? You're right. Whoa, when the horn player knows what the string players are doing, we're gonna have a good day. That's right. So spiccato off the string, let's please do that. One of the things that happens in this piece, we talked about that fancy word that starts with an S called syncopation. And we have to really make sure that we are feeling the pulse in order to do that successfully. And remember that when we have this D-yump-bum, B-yump-bum, those two slurred eighth notes, we're gonna clip the note. You should already have a dot in your part, but D-yup-ba, D-yup-ba. We really talked about clipping that a little bit. Could I have somebody demonstrate that just to remind us how we are playing that? So let's see, if I could get, is Allison here? Where is Allison? I think Allison, would you demonstrate that? Do you know where you have that part? Da da ba ba da ba. Would you demonstrate the clips? Because you did that so well yesterday.
At letter B, is that right?
Did you say letter B?
Yeah.
Let's see here. No, not that part. It's the dee da ba da da. Oh, you know what? I said flute, but I actually meant Jonah on the oboe. Jonah, would you demonstrate that? Because you have that part actually. You have a different part, which I would love to hear in a little bit, Allison. Jonah, it's around measure 30-ish. Could you demonstrate that for us?
Measure 33, the pick up to 33.
Yep, that's the one.
All right.
Thank you. Okay, and now I'm going to come back to Allison. Allison, I would just like you to demonstrate that kind of light, bouncy, joyful style, which is letter B, if you would. Yes, lovely. Very, very good. Okay, I would like to talk to the strings about letter D because I want to make sure that we're all doing this the same way. So let's see here. Nathaniel, could you remind everybody how we're playing letter D in the violin parts?
Letter D.
Yes, do you remember what we talked about yesterday?
I think it was measured 16th notes.
Yes, I want to make sure everybody plays 16th notes there instead of a tremolo. Okay, we're going to do measured 16th notes there. And that is so we can really keep track of where we are in the beating. So da 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 and one bow per bar. If you are a violinist and you play that at D, will you give me a thumbs up if you understand what we're talking about and we're good to go? Hey, excellent. All right. I think those are all of the things that we need to talk about. We already talked about some of the bowing things in here. And remember, when we're on kind of a virtual performance, everybody can see you, but they can't necessarily hear you. And they're gonna know that you're not playing something correct if you're not doing the right bowing, if you're a string player, because people can see that visually. And we don't just do bowings just for funsies. It really kind of helps us get the feel of the music. So even though it looks good to have people on the same bow, it also sounds good because we're playing it in the same way, because different bowings help us play better in the music. So let's go ahead and let's do this classic sleigh ride.
All right, here you go.
Okay. All right, nice. I would love for everybody, well, first, how'd it go? Thumbs up. Oh, it's a fun one. I'm having fun. Holiday spirit. If you would just take a moment, take your pencil, and I'm sure that everybody has at least one thing that they could maybe do a little bit better next time. And you probably have that thing in your head right now, but it's going to evaporate unless you write it down. So please think of that one thing and then write something in your music that will help you play that a little bit better next time. So maybe there was a subito piano or double pianissimo that maybe you didn't drop down enough. Maybe circle that, write that in. Or maybe there was a note that you just kind of messed up a little bit, or that entrance wasn't quite right. So if you would just mark something in that will help you be a little bit more successful next time, I think that would be great. There was a place for me that I realized, you know what, there's a bigger sudden drop than I thought, and I want to make sure that I catch that. For me, that was in measure 115. I don't know if anybody else maybe didn't drop enough in 115, but I felt like I didn't drop enough even as a conductor. So please mark that in, whatever that spot is for you. Do we have any questions or concerns about this movement?
I just wanted to say something. This is Steve Pfeiffer, the bass player.
Great, excellent.
I just found a bowing error in my part, and I'm not sure if the cellos or other bass players have this. So this is measure 56.
Okay.
So the downbeat eighth note should be an up bow, and then the next slurred 2/16th note should be a down bow.
Right, Mr. Pfeiffer, let me show you the updated one. Sorry about that happening.
Okay.
Let me show you. Here's updated one, up, up, down. And here, remove up, up here, and up, up, down, up.
Great. Okay, thank you.
Excellent. All right, let's move on to March of the Three Kings, please. Okay. How many clicks do we get before we start this piece? Who knows? Could you raise your hand? Raise your hand if you know how many clicks we get at the beginning of this piece. I know that Dr. Chung has recorded these nice enough that he always tells us how many clicks we're going to get, but I would love for this to be marked in your music and even before you hear the backing track. Did Jason raise his hand?
Is it 6 clicks?
It's 6 clicks. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we get 6 clicks, and that's because we start on beat 3. And remember, we talked about how in a farandole, which is similar to, it's a type of dance, but it's similar to a gavotte, we always start on beat 3. And the tricky thing is that beat 3 can trick us and really feel like a beat 1. So I would love to talk to Alex for a moment, and let's go over some percussion reminders in this piece. Alex, what are you going to specifically be thinking about as we play through this?
Counting.
Counting, yeah, and what is the measure that we really have to watch out for, the measure of doom,
8.
so to speak? It's what?
Measure 8.
Yes, measure 8. We have to make sure that we don't come in on a beat 3. We have to wait just a little bit longer. And so let's see, Alex, you're playing timpani at the beginning, right? And then you're switching? Are you playing that next part on a tambourine?
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Fun fact, I actually really like the tambourine, and I don't want to change anything. And a lot of people play it on tambourine. It's gotten such a history on tambourine. But the original of this piece has written tambour provençal, which is really interesting. And a lot of people have changed it to tambourine on purpose because tambourine sounds so good. And I think maybe it originally came from the word, tambour provençal, and people started changing it to tambourine. But it's kind of like a field drum, or if you would take like a snare drum and take the snares off, it has that kind of sound. But honestly, I really like the sound of the tambourine. I think a lot of people do, which is why they play it on the tambourine. But just a little fun fact for you about this piece. Everybody, make sure that you have in your music that once we get to measure 16, it goes a little bit faster, okay? And it takes a second to really hear that tempo. So just write in your music, it's a little bit faster, and to listen, okay? There are several repeats, and I don't want you to miss them. Flute and oboe at 29. Can you tell me what we kind of talked about with those 16th notes or the grace notes? One of you, either Jonah or Allison. Oh, Allison's unmuted. Would you tell us, Allison, what we're going to do?
It's supposed to be kind of like a string-ish kind of move where it's supposed to like, the grace notes are supposed to go by kind of fast.
Yeah, I wanted them a little bit faster. So one, a little bit faster than we had originally played. So just really kind of start them just a little bit later, whip through them and crescendo into the 8th notes. So if you would do that, that would be wonderful. Everybody, please mind the dynamics. There's a lot of dynamic changes and crescendos. And this piece is so repetitive that if we don't do those crescendos, diminuendos, changes in dynamics, it's just not going to be that interesting. So make sure that we bring that. And then at measure 82, what happens at measure 82? What are we doing in measure 82? Can somebody tell me? Liam, would you tell me what we're doing at 82 that we need to remember?
Crescendo.
We have to crescendo, and before we crescendo, what do we need to do to make that crescendo sound really good? What dynamic should we be at?
Mezzo forte.
Mezzo forte is marked, and because we really want to make sure that we don't play too loud, we're changing it to a mezzo piano. We got to really drop down. So make sure that 82, you have marked in mezzo piano, which will be a big change from the forte that we were at. So if that's not marked in, please just take a moment, take your pencil, mark in a nice mezzo piano so that we don't play too loud, and then we have lots of room to crescendo. So please take a couple seconds and mark that in.
Okay.
And then give me a thumbs up once you have it marked in, please.
Okay.
Give me a thumbs up. Thumbs up. Another thing that we need to make sure that we are doing, and this applies, it's a style thing, but it is also a bowing thing in order to play it well. Let's see here. Let's see, Yoojin, would you demonstrate this this bowing that we're doing in the strings? So this yum, bum, bum, we're doing a little mini retake. So we have down, up, down. We retake to do another up, even though it's not a double down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Okay, excellent. Yes, excellent. And then the thing we really have to remember is that when we do those retakes, that we get the bow on the string and we start from the string. So for my wind players, make sure that those tied quarter notes, that we just cut them off a little bit so we can really get the tongue nice and clean on that next 16th note, that dum, bum, da, off, da, 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 okay? Everybody got that? Good. Thumbs, great. I think we are ready to run through the farandole, please.
All right, here you go.
Okay, nice job. How do we feel about that? Okay, there are a couple places in here that even though I can't hear you, I know that there were people in there that they were rushing. I know that some of you were rushing because it's very easy to rush. And there's actually some places in here that we need to rush in order to match things because it's so easy to rush that it has happened in the recording as well. So I want to make sure that I give you some tips to help really be in tempo. So that tempo change at 16, it does go faster. And then what has happened, which is a super common problem, is we get to box 20. And when the violins come in with this melody, they're thinking tempo change, the tempo is faster, it's faster. And they go a little bit too fast for a little bit. And then they have to kind of go back a little bit and then they settle in. So be careful. I would write, if you are a violin at 20, not too fast. It's going to be really tempting to think, oh, we have a tempo change, I need to go really fast, and then we rush a little bit. Also, when we have the 16th notes, these da-da-da-da-dum, it's really easy to ba-da-da-da-dum and go too fast. Okay, so watch out for that. There are a few places that you have to just listen really carefully because the recording does go a little bit fast. So at 47, I would just write in an arrow going forward because it speeds up a little bit. And so I don't want you to get behind, but I don't want you to overspeed up either. So I'm going to say go a little faster, but not too fast. So this is at measure 47. I would write a line that goes forward just to remind yourself, hey, really listen, and maybe write in the words, listen. I think that would be really helpful. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about this movement? It's really fun, isn't it? Isn't it fun? Okay, great. All right, time to do the Jingle Bell Hoedown. Okay, Jingle Bell Hoedown. Speaking of fun. Okay, I am going to go through some reminders in this piece. And just pick up your pencils right now. And if you have this marked in, fine. If you don't, then you can easily mark it in and we'll never know if you had it marked in before or if you're marking it in now, okay? So a few things that we changed in order to bring out the more important parts. At measure 5, violas, you have the melody. We want you to keep playing nice and loud, but first and second violins, we're adding in a piano at measure 5 so that we don't cover up the important part. Then at box 15, first violins, you can really let it rip. But second violins, I'm going to need you to put a lot of muscle into your part because you actually have the melody. So if you would play fortissimo, please, second violins at box 15, that would help everybody out. And then again, second violins, the downbeat of measure 16 should be an up bow, not a down bow as printed. So please change that. Second violins, I know that you're having so much fun playing this melody, but make sure you don't have so much fun that you forget the bowing, okay? Don't forget those ups. So if you need to write in the bowing on every single note, fine. But I don't want you to sacrifice the bowing just because we're having a good old time with that melody. Same thing at box 32. I need to have our second violins again play fortissimo. All right, you can't play too loud. As long as it still sounds beautiful, you'll be fine. In measure 40 and 41, you have to really count. So please write in whatever is needed to remind you to count and not miss your entrance. And yesterday we talked about who plays on what beat. So if you have this marked in, great. If you want to mark it in now, that's also would be great. In measure 40, it goes first violins, then beat 2, it's second violins entrance. Beat 3 is the viola entrance. Nobody enters on beat 4, and then cello's the downbeat of 41. So in the part, it should say violin 1, violin 2, viola, nothing, cello, okay? To really get all of those entrances to work. At measure 50, we upped the dynamic for the cello and the basses to be forte to really get some power there. Also remember, in general, if you have a pizzicato part, usually pizzicato, you have to play a little louder than you normally would if it were arco, okay? So for example, at measure 50, even though you have a mezzo forte in the upper strings, which includes violas, make sure that you're really playing a big enough dynamic for the pizzicato, okay? Those are the big things. At the end, there's a little bit of time into that very last note. Okay, nice and country western. Okay. I think I had somebody demo a couple of these parts yesterday. Who demoed the first violin part? That was so good. I'm trying to remember who demoed that. Aiden, did you demo that? I would love for you to play that again for us. That lovely first violin part at 15. Yes, lovely. Hey, woo! Lots of virtual claps for yes for Aiden. Good job. Okay, and then I had somebody demo the second violin part. If you demoed the second violin part, would you raise your hand? Because we talked about this, and then we especially talked about making sure that that bowing was correct. Who did that? I'm trying to remember. Liam did? Oh, Liam, would you play that? Liam, that was so good. I love the energy. There were a couple places in there that maybe the bowing could just be a little bit more accurate. Could you check your part and just make sure that you know where all of those slurs and those up-bows and everything are? Could you just play that one more time slowly, like yum, bump, bum for the bowing? Much better. Thank you, Liam. That was much better. Excellent. Okay, I think we have it. And then, oh, just one more thing. Alex, a couple things. What are we going to remember with our sleigh bell playing today and tomorrow? Do you remember what we kind of talked about? Counting, and then also being really careful when we pick up the sleigh bells, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I will be the first to admit, not that I'm a sleigh bell player, but I have played a few sleigh bell things in my day. And I have to say, picking up sleigh bells quietly is way harder than one would think. So I have a lot of respect for percussionists able to pick up things quietly. It's harder than one would imagine. Okay, everybody, let's have a really good time with this. Lots of bow when we get country western, and let's put in some holiday spirit. Let's go ahead and run this through. Dr. Chung, if you could cue that up, that would be excellent. Okay. Whoa, raise your hand if you had some fun with that. Did you have some fun? Oh, I had so much fun. I want to keep playing this piece. I feel like we all need a little bit more Jingle Bell Hoedown right now. Alrighty, so in this piece, a couple things to keep in mind. Are there tempo changes? There sure are, because we have, it's a medley of different Christmas and holiday kind of songs happening here. So we need to kind of be mindful of that and make sure that we don't check out listening while we're just kind of trucking through our own individual parts. So at the beginning, Joy to the World. This is a real skill to be able to transition from different types of styles really quickly. So we have this kind of a little bit more bouncy dum bum ba-dum right at the beginning. So make sure we get that kind of a feel happening at letter A. As a reminder, if you are a high school or above level first violinist, the second time we play that melody, we're going to do it up an octave at A. And that will start with the first ending. So the first ending, that's where you will take it up an octave at that scale, going back to letter A. So keep that in mind. When we get to the second ending, please make sure that you're aware that there's a tempo change there. And then we have, O Come All Ye Faithful. So when we get to that melody, which kind of starts transitioning at the second ending, let's make sure that we really play with our most beautiful, rich, resonant sounds and vibrato, if that is characteristic of our instrument and possible for you. If not, that is okay. But legato and smooth, please, at letter C. Please remember, count with me after letter D. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Starting there, 7 and 8 and 9 after, there's a louder dynamic, and I want to make sure that we play a little bit more and even sort of accent those notes going in to the first or the second ending, okay? Then when we get to Hark the Herald Angels, which is the next section, we can play with just a little teensy bit more separation, but still we want to keep that super beautiful sound, okay? When we get to the second ending, please, please listen carefully. There is a bit of a retard. If I was in front of you, what I am in front of you, but real time in a live performance hall, I would subdivide starting in the second ending. I would do 1 and 2 and we get to the fermata. And the fermata is equivalent to about 7 eighth notes, okay, as we go into Silent Night. So think about, you have to listen, but it's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, ba, ba, dee, da, 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 okay? And that's how we transition into Silent Night. So listen very carefully so that we don't miss that. We talked about some phrasing things in Silent Night. I would love to have one of my first violinists demonstrate letter H and really bring out the phrasing for everybody to hear. So let me see who is here that would, is there a first violinist from yesterday that would be willing to demonstrate playing this? Hannah, would you be willing to demonstrate this beautiful phrasing that we're going to do at H?
Sure.
Hannah, that was so lovely. Thank you. How nice to hear such beautiful lyrical musical playing. Thank you. So just to kind of talk through what Hannah just demonstrated, letter H. The second measure of letter H, we're going to kind of crescendo on that last beat into the downbeat of 3 after H. Play that up. The fourth measure of H, we do a diminuendo at the end. The fifth and sixth of letter H, up. And then the next measure way down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the seventh measure of H, we bring that down. Then the ninth measure of H, again, up, crescendo, but then da, da, and then diminuendo just as printed. And everybody, don't forget, that diminuendo works really well so that we don't crash into that rest, okay? Dr. Chung likes to say, notice the beauty of silence, and I love that, okay? We don't want to miss an opportunity to have some beautiful silence, so don't hang over into that rest, okay? At the very, very end, first violinists, the last 4 notes, the C, F, A, C, we're going to take up an octave. Don't forget to take that up an octave. If you're a high school first violinist, if you're not in high school or above, then please play as written. Cello players, if you are a high school cello player, the very, very last note of the entire piece, that C, will play that up an octave. Only if you're a high school or above cello player. Okay? Do we have any questions about this? Let's see. Alex, my percussion Alex, can you tell me which parts you're playing on this, Alex?
I'm gonna be playing the bells part.
You're playing the bells part. Okay, great. Good to know. Excellent. All right. I think we're ready to run this through. And remember, this is our grand finale piece. So no matter what happens with your individual parts in the concert, make sure you really stick the landing, as I like to say, and really bring all that you have to this piece and really end on a high note, perhaps literally, okay? All right, Christmas sing-along. Let's do it. Okay, I can't wait for it. This is going to be so much fun. Make sure that you have a great time tomorrow. You've put in a lot of time and hard work, and so tomorrow we get to kind of celebrate just getting to play together and having fun.
This is my alarm. All right, welcome back, everybody. Please welcome Dr. Culligan. Please share the weather, Kentucky there.
Yes, it's getting cold in this area now. We're having a cold front coming in, and I think that we might have a white Christmas. I think we might have a white Christmas in this area and get some of that white stuff. We haven't really gotten a lot of it. It's kind of, I don't know how the weather changes where you all are in California, but here in like the Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky area, I mean, one day it will be like really warm, and then the next day it can be really cold, or like it will really change throughout the day. So it has in general been really unseasonably nice around here, but I think it's going to get very, very cold coming up, and we're going to get some of the white snow stuff. So I don't know that you'll get, what's the weather going to be like for all of you?
We're having really high winds in Southern California right now.
Ah, okay. So what you're telling me is it's a great day to be indoors and playing music on the Zoom. So we're in the right place. Okay, so let's kind of jump right into this. As I mentioned before, there's a chance that we might go a little long in rehearsal just to make sure that we can run through everything. So we'll just kind of see, be prepared for that. Not too long, but we do want to make sure that we can run everything, and it takes a good amount of time just to get through these pieces. So as a reminder, the order that we'll go in today is concert order. Of course, we don't have the full orchestra pieces kind of in between these, but so that will make the order Dvorak Concerto, Vivaldi Concerto, Horn Concerto, 2 Flute Concerto, O Holy Night, and then the Mozart 2 Piano Concerto. That's correct, right? That order? Yes, I think it is. Okay, great. So we will start with the Dvorak Concerto, please. So if you're a soloist in some of these pieces and maybe you play in some, don't play in the other, gives you an idea of when you need to be like real ready to kind of play all of that. So we will start with the Dvorak Concerto, and I do want to kind of talk through some things in here because we spent a whole lot of time the first day, and then we worked on other things yesterday and didn't do any Dvorak. So I want to make sure that we're all aware of some of the interesting things that happen in everything that's Dvorak Concerto. The thing that's probably the trickiest in this piece are the rubatos and the tempo changes, and just hearing when to play. So let me give you some tips and reminders about that. One of the things that we talked about on Monday is this rhythm and melodic motive, this dum, ba ba bum, really making sure that we don't wait too long for those 16th notes and compress them. We don't want dum, ba da dum, but ba, da da da, and really bring out those 16th notes. It happens all over the place. This is a little bit more of a somber mood in comparison to some of the other pieces that we're playing. So just kind of keep that in mind as we're playing the piece. So some of the timing things as we go into, I'm just going to kind of start from the beginning and go through it. When we get to measure 46, 7, 8, 9, measure 49, you can just kind of think about that measure as a fermata measure, and then you'll get these 2 quick clicks, and right then it is the double bar, the next measure, and it's somewhat in tempo, somewhat free. So you're just going to have to listen really carefully, but the cello comes in on beat 1. So because of what everything else is happening, it's not really a big deal if you don't hit that downbeat right away, because you're sort of carrying over from tremolos and it doesn't really matter. But we really have to feel the cello on beat 1 in order to play on beat 2, my cello and bass players. So it's like fermata, you hear click, click, bomb, 2, okay? And then I think you will be fine. Now, oh, this one is so much fun. This measures 61. 60, actually 60 and 61. It's very free, and you have to really listen for 4 16th notes that go into the downbeat, but they're not like yup up 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 bum. It's more like yum bum 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 bum. And then once you have that downbeat in the cello, it is really the flutes that have this bum 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 bum. On the recording, it's not quite right. So really feel the cello, yum bum bum bum, ba-da-dum bum bum bum, and just play in tempo. Just play in tempo off of it, okay? And then the same thing happens in measure 63. The cello is a little bit free, and then once you hear the cello hit the downbeat, again, a tempo, bum 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 bum. Okay? I'm wondering, Yoojin, would you mind playing measure 60 and 61 for everybody so that they could kind of hear what that sounds like?
The measures are different because of all the cuts. Is
okay.
It?
It's that da 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 ba 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 da da ba bum 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 bum. Does that make sense? And that's the downbeat. Yes, do that again. Yes, great. Okay. Does that make sense to everybody? Thumbs? Do the best you can. It's tricky stuff. It is tricky stuff. Okay. There are some things that are happening in measure 66-ish that I want to make sure that you play nice and in rhythm and not necessarily exactly with what you hear in the recording, unless what you hear in the recording is exactly in rhythm. If not, play exactly in rhythm as close as you can, okay? When we get to measure 73, it moves a little bit. And no matter what has happened beforehand, this is a place where we can regroup and lock in again. So we can lock in again at that spot. There is a nice retard in measure 102 into 103. Don't miss that. There is also a retard in measure 128. Measure 128. Okay, when we get to 150, you have to listen for these big downbeats in the cello. So one and then the next measure, one and. Now, you will notice that in measure 152, if you listen to the recording, on the recording they played on the and of 1 and the and of 2. It actually should be the and of 1 and the and of 3. So it goes 1 and 2, 3 and then beat 4 is super, super long before you get to the downbeat. Okay? So the cello has bum, ba-da-da-dum, ba-da-da-dum, but it's played dum, ba-da-da-dum, ba-ba-ba. That's the downbeat. It's really an extra beat in measure 152. So again, everybody plays 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 1 and. Okay, it is tricky to catch, but if you know that, I think it'll be a little bit easier. Okay, there is a section that sounds a little bit hard to follow on the recording, and that is measure 198. 198, there is a really big kind of retard in the cello, and then you might second guess yourself in the downbeat. The placement of things is a little bit weird, but you're going to have a big retard in 198, and then once you get to 199, sort of listen to the rhythm in the cello, but don't listen to what you think is the downbeat. Just start counting in rhythm, just 1, 2, 3, 4, right in tempo, and then you'll be fine to catch everything once we get a few measures later after that sort of cadenza-y sort of thing. And we'll give it a try on the recording. Going into 209, really listen. There's more time. The cello has these big, this big chromatic passage, and you have to make sure you hit the downbeat right with her. Right, let's see. Okay, there is a measure of madness in 231. Okay, on the recording, do not play what's on the recording. What will happen is if you just count straight, let me give you from measure 228, it'll just be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and next. So basically, if you treat that measure at 131 as being a half as fast, it should work out. So those of you that have those eighth notes, the measure before it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2, bum, 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 1, 2, 3, like that. Okay, so basically just make that measure twice as long and it'll be fine. It's really, I think people got a little, they chickened out a little bit when they were doing it in live performance because that's a really scary measure. But if you do it that way, it should time about correctly. Whoa, thanks for hanging through all of that. Does anybody have any specific questions? Yeah.
Measure 89.
Measure 89, yes.
The F sharp trill.
Yep.
In the recording, she doesn't play the E sharp and F sharp. Do I just skip that too?
You say in measure 89?
Mhm.
I have this yum ba da dee da 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 da. Do you mean measure 90?
Yeah, I think measure 90.
Yeah, I would play the trill. I would play as written for you.
Oh,
as long as you play it in
well,
tempo.
I don't have to follow the recording.
I don't think so, because we're not going to have both notes in there, right? In the final product, is that correct, Dr. Chung?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, does that make sense, Yoojin?
Yeah, thank you.
So as long as you do it in time, it'll be totally fine. Other question, I think, Andrew, did you have a question on violin? What was that? Oh, great. I have a fermata on beat 4 of measure 154. Can you tell me what happens there? I would love to tell you what happens there. Let's see. Great. I'm glad that you mentioned that. So in that measure, the cello has yum bum 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 bum. And then right after that eighth note pickup, think of it as a quarter note pickup. Bum, bum, and then in tempo. I got my cello here. I can kind of show what happens there. So in that measure, those are not the right notes that I have in my part. But anyways, lands on this note, triple it, triple it, triple it. Everybody. Okay. Yoojin, will you play this? I don't think I have the right notes written in my part, so will you play it with the right notes actually?
Yeah.
Do you know where that is? Yes. Those are the notes, yes. Okay, does that make sense, Andrew? Great, awesome. Okay, any other questions? All right, let's try to run it. Okay, well, how did that go? There are some tricky spots in there to catch. Is there any spot that anybody would like to talk about or go over? Did we get that spot at 131 okay? Does that make sense with the pickups? I feel like that is a really tough one to catch, so do the best you can. That spot at 199, again, if you just start counting right in tempo at 199, it sounds like the beats are off, like the notes are a little bit displaced, but like the beat is fine. And so if you just count through it in tempo, you'll land in 203 at the right time. But if you overthink it, it becomes really difficult. Any questions on that?
I'd love to hear getting into 232 one more time.
Okay, we'll do that. And then actually, okay, we got a note check at 174. There's actually a couple notes that I forgot to give as note check changes where there's something that needs to be kind of changed in the part. Okay, let's see. Hillary says 174. Let's see what we have in these parts. Cellos, do we have an A sharp in that measure? Is that correct in 174? Yeah, you have it printed A sharp.
Could it be a G sharp?
You know, let's try it with G sharp. That would make more sense because we're coming from an F double sharp, wouldn't it? I'm trying to look at the other pitches. I'll double check the original. Let's try it with the G sharp right here. And if it's not correct, I'll get back to you with an update. Want to go with that? Okay, great. There's a couple other notes. First violins in 148. Could you please play a B natural on beat 3 instead of another B flat? So then it goes chromatically up, B flat, B natural, C, C sharp. Okay, great. And then there's a note in the horn that needs to be changed. That doesn't quite sound correct. Let me find it. It's where you have a G double sharp, and it should just be a plain G sharp. Let me find it. It is measure.
The G sharp?
Yeah, what measure was that?
That's measure, oh, I have to count backwards. Measure 129.
129, let me just double check that's correct. Yes, 129. And horn 1, if we could change that G double sharp to a plain G sharp, I think that will sound better. Okay, let's see, anything else? Questions, note checks? Okay, let's go on to the Vivaldi violin concerto. This is a string only one. A few things in here to remember, just really making sure that we're doing a lot of these dynamic changes. I think it makes it more interesting, for sure. I know that Dr. Chung and I talked a little bit about, typically in a piece like this, if it's a solo section, we would go down to 1 on a part, accompanying the soloists. But for right now, for our purposes here, play all of it in the 2D sections, and then in those more solo sections, even if it says, 1 on a part, something like that. I'm not sure exactly what the individual parts say, but just please play if you have a part. Just don't play the violin soloist's part if you're not the violin soloist. So a lot of phrasing with the 16th notes. And then please remember that going into the second movement, there's not a whole lot of time. So this isn't typical where we play a movement and stay right there, but consider everything a taka. So there's a little slowdown fermata on that last note in the first measure, and then you'll just hear click, click, and then we go into the second movement, and those are 8th notes. So it will be in 6, nice and slow. There is a nice dynamic change in measure 32 on the second half where we get kind of softer. If you listen with the recording, there's some nice echoes that happen in the piece. That's one of them. Let me see if I can give you another spot. Actually, I think that's pretty good. There's a little bit of a slowdown at the end, and then 3 clicks into the last movement. So you hear click, click, click. Nobody plays on the downbeat. So it's click, 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 bum, 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 bum. Okay? And remember to really crescendo and go someplace with your repeated notes. We don't want to just kind of stay the same and stay stagnant through them, so be careful with that. There are some nice little loud echo kind of spots that occur around measure, let's see, before measure 60, 9, 8, 7. So 57, make sure you catch that subito piano, and then pick up to 60, forte, piano, forte, piano. Don't miss it. Don't be that person that doesn't make that nice dynamic change. And then I think we shall have it. Any questions on the Vivaldi? This one is a lot more straightforward than Dvorak. So we get to really not worry too much about at least timing things. Okay, questions? Okay, I think we are set. Dr. Chung, if you could cue this up, we'll play through the whole thing, all 3 movements, please. Okay. Well, how did that go for everybody? We feel okay about that? I think this one is way more straightforward. Give me a thumbs up. Any questions about anything in here? I think we're good. Okay, awesome. Rolling along. Okay, next up I have the Mozart Horn Concerto. Just I'll take a minute if you want to just take a sip of water, stretch it out for a second. Please feel free to do so. All right, Horn Concerto. Remember, classical style. Let's make this super beautiful. I know that Suzy has been working really hard on this and had I got to had the pleasure of being in on a horn clinic yesterday that was just so wonderful, and so really looking forward to this performance. And also, let's just take a moment to really, I want to congratulate our soloists that we already just had. We had Yoojin, and then all of our violin soloists. Let's see, we had Emily, Daniel, Kielor, just fantastic. So at the end of your piece, if we were in person, I would definitely want to give you a nice handshake and acknowledge you like this, but I'll acknowledge you this way for right now. The Mozart Concerto for horn, there are 7 clicks to start this piece because we have a pickup. Violin 1, you are the only ones that play with that pickup, so just don't be shy. Everybody else, violin has a pickup, and then you come in mostly everybody else in that first full measure. So just make sure that you don't miss that. Again, violin 1s, you're the only ones with that pickup, 7 clicks, and then you all come in. I think everything is just very straightforward in this piece, which is just really lovely. Works super well in this format. So play really beautiful. Everybody feel the beats really well so we can play on those off beats. And let's just enjoy it. I think we can go ahead and cue it up and run it through. How did that go for everybody? Any weird notes, any weird rhythmic things, anything unclear? Way to go, Suzy. Good job. Way to go. Virtual handshake. Nice job. Yeah. Excellent. I'll make sure to acknowledge any kind of soloists in that moment because everybody's screen is different. Who knows if the direction of my hand will be the direction of the soloist? I have no idea, but just look for it. You will be acknowledged. Please make sure to take like a nice bow after your solo. We want to make sure that you get the acknowledgement that you all deserve for your hard work. That's really great. And the difficult thing to do, to be the soloist and have to not be in control of some of those choices of like tempo and retards and things like that. So way to go. Awesome. Next, we have the two flute concerto. A couple things in here are a little bit tricky, and I'm going to just kind of point those things out and remind people. The first one is in measure 71 into 72. You'll hear 2 clicks before 72. Kind of think of 71 as like a little bit of a fermata. Bum, click, da da dee da dee da da da. So the flutes in 72 and 73 have quarter eighth, quarter eighth, quarter eighth, quarter eighth, da dee da dee da dee da dee, a tempo, yeah, da da dee da hum. So listen for those 2 clicks to get you into measure 72, but then also even in 72, there's more of a writ in those next 2 bars. So listen for that carefully. Okay, the cadenza that happens in measure 108. So there's a little time getting into the cadenza fermata off. And the way that we know that we're getting out of the cadenza, there's sort of 4 bars of straight 16th notes. And I'm wondering, Allison, could you play the last 6 bars of your cadenza and then kind of listen? There's like a little bit of a pause. When she gets to a low note fermata, you know we're getting close. And then there's 2 measures, a little bit of a breath, and then straight 16th notes. Like, and just think 4 bars of straight 16th notes. And there's a little bit of click in there to help remind us that we're almost there. So I'm wondering, Allison, could you just play those last 6 measures for everybody to hear? And here it is. Oh, yep, keep going. And that's the downbeat. Okay, Allison, could you just play actually the in-tempo last 4 bars one more time to the downbeat so everybody can hear that? Great. Now, Allison, would you back it up 2 bars so they can hear what comes right before that? Excellent. Okay, hope that makes sense. Then there is another place, and this is, count with me before 130. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 before 130. You'll hear 6 clicks in that measure to set up the new tempo. So you'll hear click, 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 and then the legato is slower. And then in 128, you'll hear 3 clicks going into 129 just to help set that downbeat of 129. It's super helpful. So I got to give it to Dr. Chung on that. I appreciate those clicks. It really helps. And then again, you're going to hear 3 clicks to get us into tempo at 130. Did we catch that? There are some things in right before 120 with some dynamic changes. So it goes kind of forte, piano, forte. So just watch out for that. Other than that, I think that covers all of the danger zones. Let's go ahead and run this through. Okay, great. Did that work okay for everybody? The screen share and everything? Great, thumbs up. Did those tempo changes work out for everybody? I hope those click cues were helpful. They're super helpful. All right, so we just have a couple more pieces left. Let's just take a minute if you want to. Actually, let's take 2 minutes if you want to get a drink or if you want to take a quick restroom break. I'll set a timer for 2 minutes and then we'll be back with our last 2 pieces and we'll get them through and be on with the rest of the day. So thanks for your hard work. Take a little stretch. I'll set a timer.